This story was popular in the early 2000s. Dexter73 told it. The story has been edited for clarity, but the author's style is the same. When I was young, something creepy happened to me. I was 24 when I wrote to myself on ICQ with the nickname Autumn's Daughter. She wrote about my ad on the internet for antiques. I wasn't into antiques, but my friend wanted to sell some he got from his grandmother. The girl wrote to me and asked for the full list of things for sale. She didn't ask about the price. After thinking for about 5 minutes, she said she would take about half. She really likes antique things. I agreed and offered to bring everything to her. The girl was happy and asked me to bring a couple more things. She gave me her address, and we agreed to meet. She was well-read and had a nice vocabulary. She didn't use a lot of emoji like a lot of young people did at that time. It was fun to write to her. On the day of the meeting, I took a taxi and went. The buyer lived on the outskirts of the city near the forest. The location was beautiful, but the journey was difficult. I was still in a cab. The junk was worth it. The trip cost me nothing. Anyway, I got there. I was met by a nice girl with short wavy hair. She was chubby but looked good. Her curls covered her left eye. She looked like an antique lover, a black dress with flowers, gold jewelry, suede shoes, and a handkerchief on her shoulders. She sat on the doorstep smoking a cigarette. The only thing that killed the time traveler in her was the olive tights and matching nails. She looked like she'd escaped from the 30s. We talked and I gave her her things and she gave me the money. I counted and saw that some money was missing. My customer blushed and offered to come for the rest of the money and tea. I took the things from her hands and we went inside. The house was cozy and beautiful. Typical post-Soviet, carpets on the walls, floors, and everywhere. There were clocks in almost all the rooms. I didn't notice that almost all the clocks didn't work. There were old things here and there. There were dried plants and flowers in vases, pots, and bottles. That was the most interesting thing I saw. The girl asked what I wanted: herbs, coffee, tea. I said, let her make it. She made me drunk on lime and molasses. She served me a red currant pie. While I ate, the stranger told me stories. I had gone to a kind but lonely grandmother. I came to my senses in the evening. Honestly, I didn't want to leave at all, but things were busy. I hinted that it was time to wrap up, and she went to the other room to get the money. That's when the best part of the story began. She was gone about 10 minutes. Maybe less, but it felt like that. I decided to check on her, so I went to the door and knocked. It was quiet. I asked if everything was okay. Silence. I was starting to get nervous. It didn't seem like she had decided to screw me out of my money, since the shortfall compared to the amount I had already received was nothing. I knocked again and said I was in a hurry. Again, nothing. I hinted and openly said that she might not give me the money and I was already scared that she had become ill. The door wouldn't budge, it seemed to be locked from the inside, which alarmed me even more. I was ready to break it down, but then this girl spoke up.
I'm sorry.
I asked her why and what happened. I wondered if she was so upset that I decided to leave.
I'm so hungry.
The door started to open. That's when my ass felt something wrong, even though my brain took it as a stupid joke. I reflexively backed off. And then half of the lady's face slowly emerged from behind the door with a snarl. The green eye, or rather the two pupils in it, which she was hiding behind her hair, were dilated like a fucking cat looking at a mouse. The mouse, I think you realize, in this situation was me. I backed away and grabbed my workshop. I didn't like this prank. I wasn't weak, so I could fight back, but there was something snarling and incomprehensible standing in front of me, and my sixth sense was terrified. This girl might be crazy, but I didn't want to mess with her. It's not ethical to hit women. I guess so. I backed away slowly, afraid to breathe too loudly. The girl came out towards me with a look of pure fearlessness. The bag made me angry, so I knocked it over with my foot. The girl ran at me with a loud scream, and I went to the kitchen. The door to the exit was on the other side. I threw a chair at it and jumped out the window. I ran as fast as I could. It was the scariest moment of my life. I ran half the city in minutes. I was so messed up I didn't care if I went home. I ran to my friend's house. The last thing I remember was pounding on the door and being too scared to turn around. I came to my senses inside. He said I flew into the apartment like a madman and hit my head against the wall. I had to tell him I was running from the cops. He wouldn't believe me anyway. Anyway, I don't buy or sell online anymore, but there are lots of services like Amazon. This is not the end of the story. On this anonymous post on the internet, a girl with the nickname Angel Frost wrote a comment. It wouldn't sound very convincing if this girl in the story didn't remind me of a classmate of mine. She also had a problem with her eye and was acting weird. The author of the story asked her to elaborate. It's a long story. I write with fear, in case she wants to eat me. In general, she and I have been friends since the first grade. She was cheerful, active and smart, but she was poisoned because of polychoria, just a double pupil. And she was still chubby then, and kids don't care what they poison for, and all sorts of anomalies seemed even more frightening and ugly to little assholes. They just didn't really want to be friends with me. I'm quiet, shy. So we built a harmonious union on aloofness until the 6th grade somewhere. The weirdness started around that time. Anyway, we had a ritual. In the cafeteria, we'd rush to get the crusts of bread off the plate. She liked to eat the tops and I liked to eat the bottoms, so we'd split the slices of bread in half. We usually had enough of what we took, but at some point she started eating more. I noticed, but didn't ask anything. Over time, I came to the conclusion that she started eating because of the stress of the bullying, which kind of led to more bullying. It was a vicious cycle. And one day we went to my house, and I had some marinated chicken wings my mom wanted to make for dinner. She snatched up the raw wings and ate them. And she ate the bones. Here, of course, I fucked up, but it's her business, and I'm already used to her experiments with food. She loved it. Then my relationship with her deteriorated, and after graduation I forgot about her altogether. The author was horrified and only asked, "Did she ever eat raw meat again?" The girl replied, "I don't know if she did before, but after, yes." That was the last message about this girl. No one ever knew if she had tasted human meat and what happened to her. If you have a continuation of the story, please write it down.